Greetings, we'll cover a few details about George Stephenson and his life in a succinct manner. Here is a short rundown of his early years, education, career, persona, notable works, legacy, and demise. George Stephenson was a mechanical and civil engineer from the United Kingdom. Stephenson, known as the "father of railways," was admired by Victorians for his perseverance and desire for advancement. Samuel Smiles, a proponent of self-help, highlighted his accomplishments. Also known as George Stephenson, famous as "Father of Railways," born June 9, 1781, Wylam, United Kingdom, died August 12, 1848, Tapton House. Father, Robert Stephenson. Mother, Mabel Stephenson. Siblings, Eleanor Stephenson, Robert Stephenson, and Stephenson. Children, Robert Stephenson. Discoveries, inventions, steam locomotive, Killingworth locomotives, Stephenson's rocket, my lord. Robert and Mabel Stephenson welcomed George into the world on June 9, 1781 in Wylam, Northumberland. His father was an underemployed firefighter. Being from a poor family, Stephenson could not afford the luxury of an education. When he was 17 years old, he began working as a Newcomen engine man. He used the money obtained from the work going to night school to study, where he learnt how to read and write. He even picked up math. Stephenson began working at Black Collarton Colliery as a brakesman in 1801. He got married and moved to Willington Quay the following year, where he continued to work as a brakesman. He acquired skills in clock repair, shoe repair, and clothing cutting to earn extra money. He changed jobs and started working at the Killingworth pit after the birth of his kid. After successfully repairing a pumping engine at High Pit in 1811, he was given the opportunity to work for the Killington Collieries as an engine wright. He quickly attained expertise in steam-powered machines. In 1814, John Blenkinsop's traveling engine served as inspiration for Stephenson's first locomotive. The Blucher engine was created specifically to transport coal on the Killingworth wagon way. The first locomotive with a steam engine to operate on a railroad could move 30 tons of coal at 4 miles per hour up a slope. It went on to become the most productive functioning steam engine ever built. Stephenson was aware of the explosive threat the mining sector faced because he had spent the majority of his life working in coal mines. In pits filled with flammable gases, the miners used open flames. As a result, in 1815 he created a safety lamp to lessen the likelihood of an explosion. A cylinder with teeny air holes was utilized in the light to limit the exposure. After his first locomotive engine was a success, Stephenson created 16 further locomotives for Killingworth. He constructed a 6-wheeled engine for the Kilmarnock and Troon Railway in 1817. He was given the job of building the 8-mile Hetton Colliery Railway in 1820. It was the first railway that used only mechanical power and no form of animal power. He decided to patent his cast iron rails as a result of the railway's success. He was hired as an engineer to build the Stockton and Darlington Railway in 1821, after the Hetton Colliery Railway proved a success. The line, which connected the collieries in Stockton and Darlington, was 25 miles long. Robert, his son, helped him with the project. The Stockton and Darlington Railway opened for business on September 27, 1825. Locomotion, the railroad's first locomotive, traveled 9 miles at a pace of 24 miles per hour in 2 hours, while hauling more than 80 tons of coal and grain. The first passenger vehicle was created by Stephenson for the Stockton and Darlington Railway line. On its inaugural trip, it carried luminaries, while being propelled by the locomotive experiment. As a result, it started operating steam locomotives on public railroads for the first time in history. Stephenson established the historic rail gauge measurement of 4 feet 8.5 inches when building the Stockton and Darlington Railway. This size eventually became the norm for all railways worldwide, not just in Britain. Stephenson's gauge measurement of 4 feet 8.5 inches is still in use on all continents. The success of the Stockton and Darlington Railway greatly increased Stephenson's notoriety. He was appointed to serve as the Liverpool and Manchester Railway's chief engineer. A competition for the best and most potent locomotive was held in 1829, a year before the Liverpool and Manchester Railways were to go into operation. Among the 10 submissions, Stephenson and his son's rocket engine stood out as the undisputed victor. Rocket broke all previous marks when it blasted past at 36 miles per hour. On September 15, 1830, the Liverpool and Manchester Railways were officially opened by notable figures, such as the Duke of Wellington and the Prime Minister of Waterloo. The Liverpool-Manchester route employed 8 locomotives, all of which were produced at Stephenson's Newcastle facilities. Stephenson became famous as a result of his accomplishments in building rocket, a speeding locomotive, and establishing railroad tracks. Because of this, Stephenson served as the chief engineer for the majority of the railroad construction projects, which extended quickly throughout Britain, Europe, and North America. On a number of railroad projects both domestically and overseas, he also served as a consultant. In addition to becoming wealthy and well-known, due to the success of railroad transportation, Stephenson became even more prosperous and affluent as a result of the valuable coal reserves he discovered while conducting excavations to create railway lines. This gained attention while construction on the Leicester and Swannington Railway continued. The first train cars of coal from Stephenson's coal mine arrived in Leicester, drastically lowering the coal prices. Stephenson's busiest time was the 10 years between 1838 and 1848, because he was inundated with demands from railway builders all around the world. As builders bought locomotives from Stephenson's Newcastle works, his locomotive building firm also flourished remarkably well. He also oversaw a large number of railroad projects, including the York and North Midland, Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham, Derby, Sheffield, and Rotherham lines, among others. Before getting married to Frances, Fanny, on November 28, 1802, at Newburn Church, Stephenson had a series of romantic connections. Robert and Fanny, the couple's 2 children, were a blessing. Infant Fanny passed away. On March 29, 1820, at Newburn, Stephenson remarried Betty Hindmarsh after his first wife Frances passed away from tuberculosis. There were no kids born to them. In 1845, Betty passed dead. At St. John's Church in Shrewsbury, Shropshire, Stephenson wed his housekeeper, Ellen Gregory, a 3rd time on January 11, 1848. The first commercial locomotive and railroads were invented by Stephenson, who made a significant contribution to society. He created the first locomotive that could be successfully sold in 1814 by fusing tramways and steam power. Blucher. Blucher was primarily developed to transport coal. Blucher, even though it moved at a glacial 4 miles per hour, signaled the end of horsepower. For the Heddon Colliery, he built the first locomotive railway that was powered by a machine in 1822. But in 1825, the Stockton and Darlington Railway line was his greatest success. It was the world's first railroad using public steam locomotives. The accomplishment paved the basis for the construction of more railway lines, including the Liverpool and Manchester Railway. Stephenson is also credited for creating the historic rail gauge measurement of 4 feet 8.5 inches, which has since been adopted as the international standard for railway gauge. Stephenson and his son Robert developed Rocket, the era's most potent locomotive engine, in 1829. Rocket broke all previous marks when it blasted past at 36 miles per hour. He has been honored in a variety of ways, for his excellent contributions to civil and mechanical engineering. A historic house museum has been created in the Wylam home, where he was born. Numerous colleges, universities, institutions, and public organizations bear his name. Additionally, he owns the Stephenson Railway Museum in North Shields, which is a railroad museum. His image was on the reverse of the Bank of England's £5 note series, from 1990 to 2003. He was included in the BBC's list of the 100 Greatest Britons in 2002. This civil and mechanical engineer is referred to as the father of railways and is credited with constructing the first public intercity railroad in the history of the globe. George developed pleurisy 7 months after his wedding and passed away at Tapton House in Chesterfield, Derbyshire, at noon on August 12, 1848, at the age of 67. He and his second wife were interred at Holy Trinity Church in Chesterfield.